we have a group that we started to inform the people of how to vote, how to do research, how to study, how to listen to radio, and because they're thoroughly mesmerized.
Roger, you're losing me. What exactly is your main point?
My main point is I need some advice and inspiration from you on how to further convince these people to act on their own. And
which people? Which Richard? Whoa, Roger. Which people?
The politicians that have been BSing for years and years since I've been in high school. They're still in there.
So you think that they're all liars, and you think they're going to change?
They'll never change. I don't think they're all liars. There's a few handful that...
Right. Most of them are liars, and they're only gotten worse under Obama because he's a naked liar, and he's gotten away with it. So the other side decided to do it as well and shaft their own constituency, figuring there'll be no consequences. They just got put back into safe seats, and the drunk Boehner has a nice condo waiting for him on retirement. McConnell got, what, $1 billion... What did he build, a bridge to nowhere in Kentucky? Do you remember that story?
Exactly. Yes, I did. And he also turned his back on the people of Kentucky, and I don't even think it hit them yet.
McConnell is the equivalent of a carpetbagger. He is not from Kentucky. He's from Grubberland. So you can talk about him all you want. We have a revolutionary in the White House getting away with murder. So they figure they'll do what they want and steal from the Treasury with these grants and bridges, whatever. I don't know how you're going to change them. I know that the judges just stopped Obama. Isn't that good news?
That is the best news I've ever heard.
All right, so the answer to your question is in the courts. I've been waiting for 7 years now for the courts to stop this regime. They just did. It finally went up to a federal appeals court, which is very unlikely the Supreme Court will overturn this federal appeals court, by the way. See, the Fifth Circuit upheld the local judge. And it's very unlikely that the Supreme Court's going to overturn the Fifth Circuit. Very unlikely, given the shape of this court. So I think that they're going to also stop his amnesty, by the way.
I think they will.
Which leads me to believe that when Obamacare is also found to be illegal and the work of a monomaniac, there's going to be hell in this country because him and Michelle and Al Sharpton and the gang will have the crowds going wild in the streets to burn things down again. Maybe they can burn hospitals down next.
And that's why...
Roger, listen, I didn't give away one book today because my voice is bad. I have to focus only on the show. But I have enough books to give away for the rest of the week. I'm giving you a free copy of my novel, Countdown to Mecca. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. It is the Savage Nation. It's 50 minutes after the hour. Let's go to the callers. WSBA Radio. Lenny, welcome to the program. What's on your mind, Lenny?
15 years in awaiting Dr. Savage, and I'm honored. I think the greatest story in America today is simply, and it's the most underreported story, and it's the 75 to 80% continual out of wedlock birth rate in the African American community. Unless the media points its finger directly in the face of black America, we will need immigration to offset this insanity that's being unleashed on a country. That's not good old-fashioned racism. That is just pure statistical fact. So
you're assuming that all immigrants are married and wonderful family members, right? I mean, that's your assumption.
I would say 50 to 60%. I'm just taking an educated guess.
Well, what you're saying is that immigration is good for us because Hispanics are generally family-oriented. I think that's what you're arguing, correct? I said the same thing myself. However, you have to put it within context. If that were true, then how do you explain the 30% of all criminals in our prison system are illegal aliens who are arrested not for breaking immigration laws, by the way, but for committing felonies, other felonies?
I can't argue with that fact. I'm not.
So they all don't come here to go to church and buy their daughter a new dress on Sunday. Some come here to rob, kill, murder, rape, drive drunk, work in gangs, bring in drugs. So let's not be Pollyannas about this. That's the problem. I'm all for immigration if they came in an orderly fashion, if we had an orderly immigration policy. And what would that mean? It would mean let's decide which immigrants we want. What countries of origin do we want them from? What religions do we prefer? Do we prefer Muslims, as Obama does? Or do we prefer religions that are compatible with the Judeo-Christian ethos of this nation? You could certainly answer that question easily, right?
Absolutely, Doctor.
So Obama hates the Judeo-Christian ethos, which is why he wants to flood America with Muslims from Syria, not Christians from Syria. And so that's a question. Then how many immigrants do we really need? What educational level do we want for the immigrants? Don't you think that would be part of a rational immigration policy, a discussion? Of course it would be. We're not having that discussion. He's bringing in children who will never work in the society, or it's unlikely they'll work. They're going to be wards of the state most of their lives, whether it's direct welfare or college scholarships or whatever he gives them. Who's going to pay for all of this?
That's an economic impossibility. We probably have 15 years left on our welfare state, and it's finished. And when that day comes, what you're going to see, especially, and again, I mean, I'll just be honest. What's in my heart? What's going to happen, especially within the African American community, we will see the abandonment of millions of children when there's no longer any free housing, free money, free food. That day is coming, and when that day happens, I fear martial law, because there's simply no way society can absorb that anymore. It's done. I mean, 15 years is being generous. I mean, I'm not a Harvard-educated guy, but I can add. And, I think, I've had a lot.
Aren't you encouraged today to learn that only a few hours ago the Fifth Circuit overturned, or rather upheld the lower court and overturned Obama's amnesty? Don't you feel good about that?
Hallelujah. I feel great about that. Yes, I feel fantastic about that. I don't know how the president is going to work at it. I mean, is he going to obey it? I mean, I guess he has to if he wants the Democrat Party to win next time, right? I mean,
I don't know what he has to do. I know that he's a rogue president. I know that he's the conductor of a train that's out of control. I know he's liable to take the train off the cliff. There's no predicting how this madman will run the motor car.
Oh, he's drunk. My analogy to my children and my family is that in Washington we have fools. We have fools at the wheel. We have fools running our country, and we do have a drunk driving the ship of state. I do agree with you.
Well, I wouldn't say he's drunk. I would say he's a power mad man who has just been slapped in the face by an appeals court, and it's a big appeals court. It's a big case. He was stopped in his tracks. The question now is, what will Loretta Lynch do? Remember, he just installed her. Remember that? The replacement for Holder, and one of the first things she did was she didn't uphold the law. She went down to, I think, Baltimore, and she stirred up the masses, saying that they're the oppressed masses, and she basically called the police the wrong party in Baltimore. And then the city erupted this weekend after she went there. So I'm not so optimistic that our Attorney General will do the right thing when it comes to him if he breaks the law and refuses to follow the Fifth Circuit's decision, frankly.
But do you think, Dr. Savage, those policies of unrestricted immigration, as well as what the intellectual portion of, the Democrat elite, don't you think they've acknowledged that Black America won as a lost cause, and the only way to dent that is to attempt to displace? These people are pragmatic people when the
Are you saying that the Democrat Party, in their desire to flood America with Chinese, by the way, the number one immigrant group are Chinese, flood America with Hispanics and Chinese is to displace African Americans? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I've believed that for a long time, and I'm not crazy. I have honestly believed that because of the statistics involved. When you look at just, again,
that's sort of Malthusian, and I don't know that they're that Machiavellian. I like to use the two Ians at the same time, Ian and Ian. Yes, it's Malthusian, but I don't think that they're that Machiavellian. I think they're just appeasing the Hispanic mobs for votes. And I think that they're appeasing La Raza in particular, because La Raza is running the White House in specific. Look up her name, Cecilia Munoz, M-U-N-O-Z. She went from being a Mexican street radical to living in the White House.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected thought, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
And finally, while peaceful protests can be powerful, if we truly want to reform our criminal justice system, then we need to come together and do the hard work of changing our laws and policies to reflect our values.
The hard work of burning a city down. That's the way to get it done, Michelle. Shame on you. Look what we have in the White House. Look what we have in the White House. Telling Oberlin College to begin with is an embarrassment. When you say Oberlin, you know, it has a certain meaning to it. Oberlin. What does it mean? Oberlin means a university, or a college rather, that brainwashes the children to the farthest degree of left-hoodedness. So she wants them to shape the revolutions of their time. Just think about that. Think about what that means. That's a first lady. Is that inspiring, telling children to shape a revolution? No, I don't understand how anyone can't see that. By the way, Ferguson protesters are now protesting over not getting paid. You know, Sharpton is rent a mob type of thing. Well, it actually was true. Some of the protesters who looted, rioted, burned buildings, and overturned police cars in Ferguson, Missouri last year were promised payments of up to $5,000 per month to join the protests. Did you know this? It was a group called MORE, a successor to ACORN, and they offered them $5,000 a month to loot, riot, burn, and overturn police cars. I guess that's what Mrs. Obama means by changing the laws. You know, you want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. Well, anyway, when this group didn't pay them, they stiffed the protesters. The vermin launched a sit-in protest at their headquarters of MORE, and they're demanding their money. Can you imagine getting paid $5,000 a month for running around holding up a sign and burning down an occasional McDonald's? That's $1,250 a week. By the way, this group MORE is funded by liberal, psychotic billionaire George Soros. George Soros frankly should be arrested by Interpol, in my opinion. He's a roving maniac who is out to destroy this country with a vendetta I'll never understand. They say that Soros is a Holocaust survivor. Why would a Holocaust survivor who made billions, if not more, on changing money in the back of the temple, meaning trading currencies, why would he have such a hatred for capitalism? Why would he have such a hatred for the America that took him in from the Holocaust? I'll never understand it. There's no answer to it other than liberalism is a mental disorder. But there's more to it than that. It's all about money. Never forget that the thing that motivates people from top to bottom is generally money. And when you look at George Soros, you've got to understand that if he's funding these protests and they're becoming more and more radicalized, there's a reason for it, and it has to be money. Meanwhile, Michelle Obama tells graduates to shape the revolutions. Shape the revolutions. What does she mean by that? What does she mean by shape the revolutions? Does anyone have any ideas on that? So there she was, concerned about social justice as though she's still down with the people. Here's a woman who's such a hypocrite that she has 72 personal assistants in and around the White House catering to her every whim. And yet she's acting as though she's one of the little people in the streets of Baltimore. I mean, how much can you take of this crap? It's unbelievable to me. We have a crazy man as conductor of the train of state, driving it as fast as he can, blowing the whistle, going through the stop signs, and screaming, race, 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 race. That's the problem. Meanwhile, the Middle East is burning. The bowling pin is waiting in the wings. And now the bowling pin, in order to appeal to the progressive left, which, as you know, progressive is the opposite of what they are. They're regressives. They want to take us back to 1917 in Russia. So when you hear progressive, think regressive, think the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917. Don't fall for the rhetoric. Everything's backwards. Blue states should be red states should have been blue states, and progressive should be regressive. Here she says that she's now worried about the 26-year-olds who are aging out of Obamacare, they should be allowed to stay